So if you are just joining us, this is your first session. I'm Lawrence B. Hamilton. I'm very excited to be here with you and, here at the Good Stuff Social Club. So y'all, I am over the moon about this next session because it's all about mentorship. Okay, and mentorship is a part of community. That's kind of been one of the reoccurring themes is community. So even connecting with people who do what you want to do, or being someone that's super passionate about the things that you do and pouring that love and knowledge into other people that are trying to get where you are, okay? It's very important. So, Marshalls did their own research and they discovered that 37% of women feel like mentorship can actually help them get the access to the life that they would like to live, which I think that sounds right. That sounds right. So the leaders of this session have a very impressive background that has truly affected people's lives for the better. So Jewel Burks Solomon, she launched the venture capital fund aimed to close the gap for Black entrepreneurs and previously launched initiatives at Google that contributed millions of dollars to the Black and Latino-led businesses. Woo! I know that's right, Jewel. She currently serves on the board of multiple companies that serve the Atlanta community. So she's an Atlanta girl. She's coming out here, yes. And Brenda Jimenez, she joins us from Mentor NY. Is anybody NY in the back maybe? Okay, NYC. So she serves as the CEO, partnering with organizations across the city to foster positive mentoring relationships for young people to help them reach their potential. We gotta pour into our youth, right? We gotta teach and show them a way. So she has a long history of commitment to women's issues and serving her community. So they're gonna do something fun out here. Of course, they're gonna give us some tips and tools, how to create meaningful relationships with others. But they're also gonna lead us in a round of mentor speed dating. Okay, because matching with different personalities is a lot like dating, right? So please join me in giving them a round of applause. Please welcome Jewel and Brenda. All right, hey Jewel. And Brenda. Hi. Enjoy.
Well, Jewel, I'm super excited to be here with you today. Thank you.
I'm so excited, yes.
So we're going to be talking about something that's close and dear to my heart, mentoring. I'm going to say a little bit about myself first so you have some context, and then I'll have Jewel introduce herself, and then we're going to jump right into it. Fair enough? So my name is Brenda Jimenez. I've been in the nonprofit world for over 25 years, mostly in youth development. I've been in the mentoring space in some type of capacity throughout that career with the different companies that I've worked for. And for the last 9, I've been with Mentor New York, first as their Chief Operating Officer and now as their CEO, creating mentoring programs across New York State, wherever young people live, learn, work, and play. And when we say young, it's ages 7 to about 24, because you're really not fully cooked at 18. There's still some real frontal lobe development that's happening. And mentoring actually is a lifelong journey, right? I still have mentors today. I still curate for new mentors. I don't know if Jill knows this, but she's going to become my mentor after today. And that's how life is, right? Different types of meaningful relationships that propel your life forward to make it more rich, and so that then you can propel it forward to others. 1 in 3 individuals in this country grow up without a mentor. And so this conversation is really relevant because the research really says that although we all love the concept of mentoring, for women and women of color especially, in the workplace, mentoring is a fleeting reality. So we're really going to dive into that conversation today. So you have all the tools and tips in your back pocket so that you can really fortify a life of mentoring. Jewel?
And hello, everyone. My name is Jewel Burks Solomon. I am managing partner at Collab Capital. This is an early stage venture capital fund investing in Black-led innovation companies across the US. In addition to Collab, I do a lot in the Atlanta community, so sit on a number of boards here. I'm also a mom of a 2.5-year-old that is running me ragged right now. So I'm really excited to be here with you all and to dive into this amazing topic around mentorship.
Yeah, thanks, great. So clearly, as I'm reading your background and we're talking, I know that you have this immense experience really cultivating relationships and mentoring women of color specifically, right, in the for-profit industry that they're trying to pursue.
Yeah.
You're also probably mentoring the organizations that you're doing community work with. There's a lot of research that says that people that mentor have been mentored. Talk to me a little bit about, personally and professionally, who were those mentors in your life, and why would you consider them mentors?
Sure. So I was thinking about this and going back, and you hit on something earlier about how mentorship starts early for most people. And my first recollection, outside of like my parents and my grandparents and people in church, was my 5th grade art teacher. Her name was Mrs. McBride, and she was my teacher. She saw something in me and pulled me aside, you know, maybe one of the first days in class, and said that I had talent. And I was like, oh, okay. And she really took me under her wing and invited me to start doing private art lessons, and that really became my passion. And so her spotting something in me, which I didn't at the time really know I had any special talent for art, that was pivotal in my life. And most people know me from technology, but my actual, if I could be doing anything, it'd be painting and drawing. And so when she identified a talent in me, I took just that small kind of word from her and ran with it, and did art in high school, did all the AP classes that were available, minored in painting when I went to Howard University. And the way that I got into technology was because I had an interview with a recruiter from Google, and I used to take my art portfolio to all of my interviews, and really I just wanted to show people my paintings. And so the interviewer happened to have been an art history major, and she shared that with me. And she asked me, did I have any special talents, or what were my hobbies? And of course I'm like, oh, here, look at my art. And we had this amazing conversation, and I credit that for me getting the internship at Google, which is what led me into technology. So that one note from Miss McBride in 5th grade really led me down the path of where I am now. And so it was such an important mentorship relationship. And that experience of having someone early pour into me, I think also informed how I look at my relationships with people that I meet today, and young people and entrepreneurs that I work with. And so it's just amazing what one mentor relationship can really do for the trajectory of your life.
See, that makes my job so easy. Right? I always say mentoring can be very transformative, and it doesn't only change your life. I'm pretty sure Miss McBride's life was changed by you being in it. But I want to connect the dots because I want to make sure that you're sort of starting to get the jewels of this conversation. But really being seen is such an important part of this conversation, right?
Yeah.
Ms. McBride saw her. And what mentors really provide is the ability not only to see you, but to see things for you that you can't even see for yourself.
Absolutely.
So there has to be an authentic blind trust that happens within that mentoring relationship. And what I love is what Ms. McBride has sparked for you is this authenticity, right? This authenticity of showing up whole, which then leads you to your first internship, right? And so as you're working with entrepreneurs and business leaders and helping them along, how do you think they're able to navigate the challenges, especially the ones that women of color face, establishing authentic mentoring relationships? How do you think they overcome those obstacles? Because it seems easy, but it really is not.
When I'm working with entrepreneurs, mentoring people, the thing that I try to do is show up as authentically as I can. And sometimes that means, someone asks, how are you? And I try always to give the real answer of how I actually am. And model that so that they can tell me how they actually are, and we can cut through all of the surface level conversation and get to the heart of whatever it is that we need to get through on that given day. And so I think that's really important. I think that particularly as women, we have a lot going on. It's not just whatever the meeting was scheduled for. It's also, like I said, I got a 2.5-year-old that is running me ragged. We can talk about that. Brenda and I had a great conversation about, for me, I have this decision right now of if I want to have a second child, and people keep asking me, are you going to have another one? Are you going to have another one? And I'm like, chill. We'll get there maybe, or maybe we won't. And so I think that being able to let the facade down and have a real conversation about what life is really going on right now is really important to quickly build trust and build an authentic mentor relationship.
Is this better? Yes. Oh, thank goodness. I was wondering, I'm Puerto Rican from the Bronx. I was like, this is definitely my inside voice. But I try to be cool and collective in these moments. So as a mom of a 14 and a 16-year-old, right, you could imagine how frazzled I can be sometimes. And I think within boundaries, I can show up to places and say, yeah, it just all happened this morning. It wasn't that smooth. We're here. Can we try to make this go smoothly, right? And sort of the chuckle of oh yeah, I had a rough morning too, just cuts through things. So I think within boundaries of professionalism, you still can have those authentic moments that make you very real.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that, because I think that's super, super important. The research actually says that women of color have a hard time finding mentoring relationships, because it's not just about their authenticity, it's also about how folks approach them as well in that authentic relationship, and how they're able to be seen, for their potential to be seen. And so there's a lot of times in your career that you wish somebody will come mentor you. Who will it be? Can you see me? I wish this person would mentor me. But a lot of times it really happens from a peer-to-peer perspective, the mentoring relationships. How do peer-to-peer mentoring relationships form sort of the collegial, right, mentoring experience for the entrepreneurs you work with, and what kind of impact does that have in their life?
Yeah, so I think about that. I have a really amazing peer mentor who's also a dear friend, who's also my baby's godmother, and who was my CTO at my startup, Dr. Nashley Cephas. And I love our relationship because it is layers to it. It is personal, it is professional. She just came on and is our expert AI executive in residence for our portfolio companies. And so it's this continuous, now decade plus, of mutual beneficial. I hope I give some things to her and she gives a lot to me. And we reach out to each other. When we have questions about things, we feel comfortable talking to each other, in professional career, climbing the ranks of corporations and trying to figure out, am I crazy, or was this really inappropriate what this person said to me? Or, I got this offer for promotion, but I'm pretty sure it's a little low. What should I be asking for? So it's the professional piece. And we have the trust, I think, is the foundation of it, and the respect to know that this person is an absolute rock star in her lane. I'm pretty decent in my lane too, and we can really work with each other in that way. And that's one of my favorite kind of peer mentor relationship. And I think about our portfolio companies and how to help them cultivate those types of relationships as well. And so just one example of something that we do is a portfolio founder retreat. Every year we have it coming up in July, and we really just create space for the companies and the entrepreneurs to get to know each other. And to, many of them are similarly situated in their career, in their journey as an entrepreneur. And so what they're dealing with is actually a lot more relevant than any advice I can give to them, because I'm pulling on experience from 10 years ago when I was building my company, but they actually are in the field right now. They are having the same types of conversations with potential customers, with potential investors. And so that's so important for them to be talking to each other about what they're seeing real time right now. And so I really encourage you all to, I think Issa Rae has a great quote around, look at who's beside you instead of who's on the stage, and really get to know the people who are here soaking up this information, because those are going to be the long-lasting relationships that you can build from events like this. So yeah, peer-to-peer relationships and mentorships is so critical. And when I think about the most enriching relationships that I have in my life, most of them are with people who I started at the bottom, if you will, and have been able to, climb up and learn from over the years.
Now, I really appreciate that. I often call them my board of directors.
Yep.
Right? So you have 5 or 6 people that you know, and they don't have to be in your same lane. Actually, innovation occurs when you have people who are in different lanes. What do you do to solve this problem? And all of a sudden you have this bigger solution to whatever's in front of you. So I love that you bring philanthropists, entrepreneurs together who are struggling and going through similar things, right? But it might be in different lanes.
Yeah.
And that's a really important part of it as well. One of the things that always I think is critically important about mentoring relationships for young people is that people have to be consistent with young people for it to stick and for it to work. As we become adults, that gets a little more difficult, right?
Yes.
We're just talking about balancing it all, right? How did we get here this morning? All the things that led up to it, And I often think people look at me, or I'm sure they look at you and they say, they're super busy. Why would they mentor me? How do I keep that relationship going? What would be your advice around sort of maintaining and sustaining those peer mentoring relationships, or if you're lucky enough to find sort of this stratified mentoring relationship, how do you keep those relationships alive, burning, going?
Yeah. I think the consistency is so important, but also being realistic and understanding that probably if someone is more mature in their career, they may not be able to do a monthly coffee date, but they may be able to do a 15-minute check-in, or they may be able to correspond over email. For me, I had this interesting experience actually yesterday. I met a young man who's a student at Morehouse, and I met him probably about 6 or 7 months ago at a dinner. He was seated next to me. We had a great conversation. And he followed up with me afterwards, sent me an email, said he wanted to grab coffee. And my intention was to continue talking to this young man. I thought he was very impressive, but the time wasn't right. I just did not have the time at that moment. Fast forward a month ago, I see him at an event. He's actually on stage at an event at Morehouse. And I was like, I've been meaning to follow up with him so that we could get some time together, because I really did think he was impressive and I want to be a part of his journey. So when he was sitting on the stage, I sent him an email. I was like, hey, I know you wanted to get together. I see you now. I see you on stage. Let's grab some time. We ended up meeting yesterday, and his posture in the meeting was, I have some questions for you. I've been really excited to talk, and I let him get through his questions. But then I told him that I wanted to also meet with him. It wasn't a one-way situation, because where I'm at in my career, I'm getting a little more mature, let's just say. And I have to, for the job that I do, I have to know about what the generations behind me are interested in, where they're thinking, how they're thinking about things, what technology they're using. And so it's very important for me to have relationships with younger people, because I have to know where they're at mentally and what they're excited about in order for me to make the right bets as far as the investments that I make. So I explained to him that it wasn't going to be a one-way street, and the next time we meet, I'm going to have a list of questions for him. And so I think going into it with that idea that maybe you're asking for time from someone who you perceive to be at a higher level or more advanced in their career. But if you actually flip it and think about what is it that you're bringing to the relationship, what is it that you're bringing to the table, what do you have to offer, I think that makes the whole thing go better. So just think about that as you're thinking about people that you want to reach out to, that you want to have time with, that you want to be your mentor. If you can really think about, how could I mentor this person? that I think makes the relationship stronger and the ability for it to maintain over a longer period of time.
No, I love that. And I think it's true. We're all busy, but you have to come with intention,
Yeah.
right? And so thinking about things, I think one of the things we all struggle with sometimes is knowing thyself. Know yourself a little bit, right? Just enough to curate what it is that you want to get out of the relationship. And sometimes being honest, I'm not too sure what I want out of this relationship. I'm a little lost. I'm still navigating. Here's what I'm challenged with. And that person can help you sort of get there. And I also think that it's very true. I've never met a mentor that doesn't tell me, I really don't know what I contributed to the relationship because I learned more from them than I think I've given. And so knowing that when you show up, you're part of a curious learner's journey as well. If they're really good mentors, they're going to show up as curious learners. So I really love that. So I guess my last question for you is around sort of the peer mentoring, the stratified mentoring in your professional career. We have to balance it all. And I think you've been talking about it and sort of alluding to the balance being difficult. And I think one of the first questions I asked you, because usually when I see everyone so beautifully put together, I'm like, okay, how are you doing it?
Struggling.
And, you know, on some days it's really great.
Yeah.
And on some days it just doesn't work out. But how do you balance everything to have the intentionality around the relationship? I think it's a great example about this young man, but I'm sure that you have many relationships that you really have to steward. How are you balancing all of that? And how do you organize it in your mind so that it's meaningful?
Yeah, you know, I don't think I'm balancing it all.
Yeah.
I really kind of reject the idea, and that's okay. I think that in my life right now, I'm in a season where I am hyper-focused on closing my next fund. So I'm fundraising, I'm on the road a lot, I'm traveling, and that is my priority right now. And I've tried to communicate that to all the people I love to make sure that they know that that's what I'm focused on. But, you know, when you're extremely goal-driven, which I'm sure everyone in this audience is, it's okay to have seasons where you are out of balance. As long as you've communicated that, you're transparent with the people that you care about, and you have a plan to get back in balance. So as soon as I close this fund, I have a plan to take some time off, to reset, to take care of myself, and try to do it along the way as I can. Speaking about Nashley again, we have, I last month took her out for a spa day because I was like, we both need to decompress. Hopefully next month she'll take me out for a spa day. So trying to kind of bake these little mini refresh sessions in. But also I think just understanding that it's not always going to be a perfect combination of your professional life and what's going on there, your personal life and what's going on there. And I think also having really strong partners and advocates in your life. I have a really amazing husband who is okay that I'm traveling and on the road and he's at home, the anchor at home with our son. That means the world to me, and that was very important in my life journey, and I think has unlocked my ability to do a lot more, that I have a really amazing partner. And maybe for you, it doesn't look like having a partner at home. It looks like having really great girlfriends that you can confide in and kind of let some of the load off. Maybe it's your parents, you know, are an amazing support system. Whatever it is, I think it's really important to kind of find those anchors in your life that allow you to do the things, you know, your wildest dreams and do all of that. That's what's been critical for me. And also just going back to the mentorship, you know, when I was in college, I interned on Wall Street and I saw the women who had climbed the ladder and were doing so incredibly well. And I interviewed them, essentially. I, you know, asked them out for coffee, asked them about their life. And while they were wildly professionally successful, the recurring theme I heard was that they were lonely. And from that time, 19 years old, interning on Wall Street, I made a declaration to myself that I would not sacrifice my ability to have a family for my professional strivings. And so I kind of made my plan, my roadmap, based on those conversations and interactions, and pretty much stuck to the plan for the most part. Some hills and valleys in the mix, but for the most part, stuck to the plan. And I think that's really important as you think about, why do you even want to mentor? What is the value that you get from mentorship? Sometimes it's seeing what you don't want your life to be, and understanding that. And so all that to say, balance, not super sold on the idea, but I think harmony and understanding that there are going to be seasons of life that have more of a focus based on whatever your goals are, is kind of what I think, how I have decided to run my life.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I could tell you that as you were speaking, I started to reflect. I just lost my mentor of 25 years who was in her early 90s and met midway through my career. And life got busy, and we had a standing monthly meeting. I literally would take the afternoons off. I would take PTO. And at 2 o'clock, we would be in our favorite restaurant having an early dinner. I had to leave at 5:30 to make pickup for after school. But we would have these great dirty martinis in the conversation and catch up and get all the jewels and the nuggets from her that I wanted and needed. And then on the flip side, I've had mentees who have approached me, and the one thing I appreciate is that they're consistent about making sure that I don't forget that they're there. Mm-hmm. Hey, Brenda, I know you're super busy, but I want to touch base and catch up. And I never let them down, right? It might take a month, it might take 6 weeks, but we're going to meet. But I need sometimes someone to be like, hey, I need you.
Yeah.
And that's a really important part of the balance too, right? Because sometimes unintentionally, we're just trying to juggle it all. And if you need something, you've got to ask for it and advocate for yourself. That's such an important part of it.
Can I say 2 things to that?
Yes.
First thing is, when you think about someone, reach out. When you said you recently lost your mentor, it made me think about a mentor of mine that I lost unexpectedly and somewhat suddenly. And I think about her all the time, and think about the times when I thought about her when she was living and didn't just send her a quick text. Or she lived in Miami. Her name was Wendy Grant. She was amazing. And you know, sometimes there are times where she wouldn't invite me to come down for whatever event, and I'd be like, oh, I got whatever going on. And now I'm like, man, I should have just stopped whatever I was doing and gone down. So I mentioned that to say, when you do have relationships and you do have people that you want to stay close to, even if it's not, like I said, the monthly cadence or a regular cadence, just when they come to mind, just reach out, because you just really never know, you know, how long people are going to be with us. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is, as you are curating your mentor relationships, one sort of tactical thing that you can do is get people on an email list and just send out quarterly updates to let folks know what are the ups and downs, highs and lows of your life. And I think that's a great way to just stay top of mind. In the entrepreneurship world, I am very adamant about entrepreneurs sending monthly updates to all of their stakeholders, investors, partners, you know, people who care about the journey. And it's just a tool to stay top of mind to folks. And also, you know, you can remember back to whatever it is that is the value that you're bringing to the relationship, and use that as a way to sort of systematize what you're offering. So whether it's you have some unique insight on a certain industry and you're sharing that with your mentors, or you've seen some unique articles or interesting insights from that perspective, I think that's just really important to keep the relationship strong over time.
I love that. I can relate. Last August, I had my high school mentor pass suddenly. And the last text was in June, him trying to get together, my promising we would, and then the blank text, which is me not responding because life got busy. And since that day, one of the things I've done, to your point, is I put standing meeting notices on my calendar Write a handwritten note right now to so-and-so and send it. Text so-and-so and send it. Because I think we let the noise get in the way. And what makes mentoring special on both sides of the table is the intentionality. So you have to curate the intentionality.
Yep.
And I think that that's so important. So thank you for sharing that, because I think that's right on. All right. So how are we doing on time? Great. So the next thing we're going to do is start putting this into action, right? So that we can make this meaningful. Because I often say you can hear things, but until you do things, they don't become real. So in order for you to leave here ready to find your mentor and curate and do things, we're going to start creating those peer relationships right here, right now. So I'm going to ask you you have your clipboards with you, you have a pen with you. You're going to start introducing yourself to individuals. We're going to find a human that you don't know in a second, so you can introduce yourself to them. I want you to write 5 things you think would be important outside of your name for the person to know about you. What are 5 things? Okay? I'm going to give you a minute or two to think about it. Jewel is going to be doing this with all of you as well, so she'll be someone you can pick. So think of 5 things,
Okay.
Jewel. Okay? And then I'll give you some directions on how we're going to play the next half hour or so for everybody. So this is what we're going to do. In a second, I'm going to have everyone stand up. We're going to move. This is an interactive session. At some point, I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to have to call back. You're going to have to call back loudly, right? So that we can have a conversation while you're engaging in conversation. And then we're going to step and repeat and do it a few times, okay? So what we're going to do is all get up. We're going to use the open space that we have to the best of ability. If you want to sit while somebody stands, you could do whatever you need to do. But you're definitely, in the next 20 minutes, not going to talk to the people you know. Can we promise each other that? I don't know who you know in the room, so technically you could cheat. But why do it if you're trying to learn something, right? Okay, fair enough? Fair enough. Okay. So right now you're going to stand up, find a human that you don't know, stand next to them, introduce yourself with your name, but do not say anything else but your name and shake their hands. Once you find the person, I will call you back so that I could give you the next instruction. Okay? And Jewel's available. You know those 5 things you wrote down? You cannot mention any of the 5 things when you introduce yourself to the person.
My pen didn't work, so.
Oh, yeah, I know. Get over it, all right? But what you are going to use is a new 5 things to talk about with the person, okay? I'm your timekeeper. If I'm any good at this, please bear with me. I am going to give you, it shouldn't take long, right? 5 things. You got those new 5 things you're going to talk about? Okay, think about it a little bit. I'll give you 30 seconds. Think about it. Breathe, relax. Breathe, relax. Think about it. Cheat if the person who goes first. Yes, ma'am. No, you're not going to say any of those. It's the new 5 things. Yeah. And no cheating, because like the 5 things are on a piece of paper. So, you ready? Think about it a little bit. All right? Okay, I'm going to give you 2 minutes, a minute apiece. At the minute point, I'm going to have you switch so the other person can introduce themselves. Is that fair? Okay, so here we go. You've got 2 minutes. Start. Pick who's going to go first. Okay, here we go. Go.
Okay. Okay.
Now, I just want a little bit of feedback. You were a little annoyed at me when I said you couldn't talk about the 5 things you wrote. Why was that?
Because they're important to me.
Those were the best things about you, right? Right? They were the outfit, the good stuff you wanted me to see, correct? Right? But to have authentic relationships, you can't just show me the good stuff. You've got to show up as your full self. So the next 5 things you talk about, what did that feel like? More personal. I know a lot more about her. It happened in less than 2 minutes. Authenticity is an intentional act. Reciprocity is an intentional act. But both parties have to be willing. Because I didn't say to one of you, oh, one of you show up with your 5 things and the other cannot. So mentors have to be just as primed as you are to show up in that space to have those meaningful conversations. So when you're hunting for a mentor, if it doesn't feel authentic, keep looking. It's not the right fit, all right? And unlike dating, you can't mess up the mentoring relationship. Because when we don't do it well, it comes to bite us later on. Well, I think dating does too, but yeah, but it really does, because you're not getting what you need so you can advocate for yourself, all right? So let's keep on this train. The next series of conversations, I need you to show up as a curious learner who's a great listener and starts to, once the person wraps what they're saying, in a time constraint I give you, be able to say, this is what I got out of what you shared with me, okay? To give it back, all right? So, find yourself another human you don't know, and then I'll give you your question. Okay? Quickly move. Another human you don't know.
Thank you. That's what I was going to do too. I thought she's down. Don't look here.
I'm going to tell you right now. Okay. Can you hear me? Welcome back. Here we go. Here's your question. This is what you're going to share with someone. All right? Share with someone a moment that you were challenged at work or with a project and how you got yourself through that challenge. You have 2 minutes apiece. So it's a condensed story. Get to the high-level bullet points and the learnings, okay? 2 minutes apiece, so you've got 4 minutes, and I will give you, as soon as my phone works, a 2-minute shout so you can switch if you haven't switched already. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Here we go. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I need to stay soft. The job got handled.
Yay! Okay. Did you learn something? Did you teach something? The other person better have been listening because you were supposed to be teaching something too. It's amazing that we think we're not teaching, but life experience shared is a valuable teacher, right? And so my mother always says, the mother of all education is experience told, right? And so I really believe that. Wise words from my Puerto Rican mother. I have thousands of them. I'm going to have to write a book. All right. Switch with another human being again that you don't know one last time, and we're going to do one more question. Okay, if you don't have a human yet, can you do a triad? Yay, everybody found another human? Wonderful. So we go from challenges to my favorite topic. Please describe for this person a moment of joy in your professional journey. Why was it why did it bring you joy? What was it? And how do you repeat that joy in other work experiences? If you don't have extensive work experience, think about a project. Think about something you're really good at that brings you joy and share it. Okay? Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Same rule, 4 minutes, 2 minutes apiece. I'll tell you when to switch. So all the buzz must mean that this is something that you enjoy doing. How does it feel? So there's been a lot of talk lately around the concept of small talk and how important it is. I often say small talk is great. We could talk about the weather, but I also want to know what was the best, most beautiful day you've ever experienced because of the weather, right? Because we often talk about these superficial things. We can go deep really fast without having to go beyond boundaries and still share a lot of ourselves. And I think there's this misconception, especially as women, that going deep has to be really personal. No, it could be very meaningful, right? And very rich. And so when you're pursuing your mentoring relationships, especially your professional ones, there has to be boundaries. But that doesn't mean that they're not meaningful and they're not deep, and that they inform you, and that they activate you, and that they inspire you. And then you have to do the most important thing for us as all women in the room, of color particularly, you've got to pay it forward, right? Because there is a reason that there is sort of this abyss of not enough mentors for women and women of color. And it's because the first people that have to see each other is us, right? So in order to be able to do this in your life, you have to be intentional. You have to activate it. And it takes a force of courage to a certain extent. And that courage you exhibited just by showing up here. So you have it in you. Now utilize it. So to help you along, we left you some tips to make sure that you keep bringing the good stuff of life into your mentoring relationships. I want to thank Jewel so much for sharing her time and her expertise in helping me share with you my life's work, all right? And in order for this to evolve and change, we have to keep at it. Find your mentor. Go to the next thing. Do what you never imagined for yourself because somebody imagined it for you. So before you go out running, I have been instructed that Lauren is going to come back up, correct? To give instructions for your next step. Thank you so much for having us. It's
Give
been
it
a
up,
pleasure.
guys.